really briefly with a land acknowledgement to say that we're here on Treaty 6, and each and every one in this room is a treaty person. I also want to shout out my family who came all the way from Musqueam. So tonight I'm just going to talk about a few things that are true for me in my practice as a photographer and as a journalist. I document real life, which means that I don't have a lot of control and I just have to exist in some spaces. So I want to talk a bit about how I do that and why I do it. So I don't know if you guys are like me, but often when I'm driving in the car or if I'm traveling on a train or a bus, I'll see little moments of other human interactions. And it might be two people who love each other who are running towards one another with big smiles on their face. Or it might be somebody struggling up a difficult hill with a heavy bag. Or it might be somebody that just looks really sad or like really impossibly cool, and I see them and I'm just like, really want to go and talk to them. But unfortunately, our culture makes that a little strange. It's a little weird to go and just like say like, hey stranger, like I see you. So fortunately for me, I'm a photographer, and that gives me this in where I can go and introduce myself to people that otherwise would be out of my reach or out of my circle, and I can kind of move seamlessly in between spaces. So I have this deep curiosity about just the experience of being a human being. And I believe deeply that that desire to connect is at the very heart of photography, of journalism, and our current obsession with travel and the way that we like to pop in and out of other cultures. I think that we're really just looking for connection, and we're looking to see and be seen in profound ways. So that's what I do. I travel into people's lives and do my best to connect with their stories. And I think that it's one of the gifts that I've been given as a human being is to see people. When they share with me, I listen deeply and I see deeply, and I try very hard to see clearly. And so that's fortunate because I'm really bad at small talk. So I think that that moment of sharing and validation that happens between myself and the people that share with me is so much deeper and more profound than anything that I could possibly have published, and is really core, I think, to the experience of being a human being. And so I'm hoping that some of what I photograph or some of that conversation can carry forward into the stories that I'm able to share. But I'm always treasuring that first moment of contact with the people who are willing to let me into their lives. I grew up with this story about photojournalism, that photojournalism can save the world. Because if you could just show people what's happening and the lives that are being challenged, then, I mean, how could they not connect? How could they not want to do something? How could we not want to change the world? But Life magazine has been publishing since 1936. There's been countless photographers who document war and famine and poverty, and yet all of these things still happen. And so I still believe that photojournalism is powerful. But I think that we've underestimated it in the sense that we've not seen how it can actually hurt in the way that if we're not careful, we can ingrain stereotypes. And photography does rely on visual shorthand. And so I want to give photojournalism its due, and in saying so, I think that we have to be very careful and very thoughtful about the way that we use it, in that it can cause harm as much as it can heal. So because of that bias and the bias towards the status quo and like the things that exist, I think we have to work really hard. And so I think there's a revolution in trying to see people whose experience is different from ours and see them very clearly. And I think that the more that we can visit other people's experiences, people who we think are totally different than us, and find commonalities, I think that's revolutionary. I think that's the heart of what actually can change the world, is if we try to see each other clearly and find our commonalities rather than our differences. So that's part of what I want to do. I want to make pictures of people that we don't represent often enough or well in the mainstream media or in media as a whole. And I really want to represent them in a light that they can recognize themselves, and that people who love them can recognize them in that representation. Because I think there's power in reflecting back that truth, that it can become self-fulfilling, where in the same way that action follows thought, I think that reality can follow representation. Powerful representations of women have helped women to become more powerful, and I think that's true for a lot of people. Anybody who's not powerful right now. And so all of this has led me to wanting to photograph Indigenous people, because you can't not see the injustice in the place that we live right now. You might have noticed I'm a white lady, and so these stories are not mine, and I need to own that. And in order to tell these stories well, I have to dig really, really deep and listen really, really well and learn a lot before I try to impose myself. I think I'm over-talking my presentation. But anyways, I did start by being horrified by the ways that racism and colonization were manifesting themselves, continue to manifest themselves in Indigenous communities across Turtle Island, which is North America. And so I worked very hard not to get fixated on that or stuck there. And the truth is that if you stay long enough, I'm also absolutely have fallen in awe of the love and the resilience, the generosity, the beauty, and the deep, deep wisdom that exists within Indigenous communities. And I think that just like waiting for the light to reveal a beautiful scene, we can wait and be patient and listen to people that we're photographing to reveal the beauty in all of our lives. Thank you very much.